Hey everyone, Pat Mesiti, and it's 2:30, a little after 2:30 in the afternoon. Just adjusting my camera, a bit of a different background today. We're doing some work in the studio because we're getting ready for prayer and pushback. And I want to speak on something that's really heavy on my heart, and I need you all to share this. You know, I think it was Whitney Houston that said, "I believe that children are our future. Teach them well and then let them lead the way." That isn't happening. The Queensland Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, I call her a chook because she's a chicken. And I know that, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful. But this gutless, weak Premier who could hold an entire nation hostage refuses to do anything about youth crime in this state. And I'll tell you why. And by the way, the leader of the opposition over here, Mr. Christofouli, he's just as weak as water as she is. Let me tell you why. Because just like what you saw in the United States when all of a sudden we had this pandemic and then, someone overseas got, treated poorly, a person of color, and the story, I can't get into it, can't mention names. Chaos is good for socialism. Just remember that. Chaos is good for socialism. Now, but before any of you tell me, Pat, what do you know about teens? Let me tell you something. Number one, I was the director of Youth Alive for many years in New South Wales, took it out of bankruptcy. That's the only reason why it's going now, and they've got some great leaders there as well, just to say that. Number two, Youth Alive, I was the director of Youth Alive in New South Wales and on a national level. Again, went to 2,700 high schools in this country, reached 1 million teenagers over a 10-year period. And this is what's making my blood boil. They don't care about teenagers. They say they do, but what they do is they throw useless money at pathetic programs to gain votes. Let me ask this question. Why was the Labor Party in this Labor Party and Palaszczuk and the Greens so vehemently opposed to chaplaincies in schools, and still are, doing everything they could to remove any moral compasses, any form of salt and light? I'm telling you, I'm fired up today. Because when you remove things like 10 Commandments, which all of law is based upon, by the way, I don't care what religion you are, or even if you're an atheist, they're pretty good, and most of us have broken all of them. But they don't care. They don't care. Now, Palaszczuk gets up and says, listen to this. Oh my God! Some of these kids come from difficult homes. Join the club. So did I. You know when they say, I remember the good old days when you could leave your windows open, your doors open, and no one would break into those homes, and no one would do that? Hey, I was raised in Bankstown. I don't remember those days. You know how I don't remember? I'm the kid that broke into the home. But I'll tell you what, if my father found out that I crossed that line, he'd grab me by the ear. So let me tell you exactly where I believe the problem is. Number one, parents. In this state, 10 to 17-year-olds running around the streets, 24,000 crimes, mostly robbery. Where the hell are you parents? I didn't know my kid was having all this kind of stuff in their room. You ought to know. My mother would be checking every sheet, every bed, every cupboard, and she'd be looking under everything. You ought to know. Oh, but progressive culture. Of course, these kids have got rights. You try and spank them, and some of you progressive parents watching this, let me just remind you what the good book says. Spare the rod, spoil the child. That's what it says. I blame the parents. Let me tell you what I would do, Miss Palaszczuk. 10-year-old kid starts breaking into my home, I'm going to hold the parents responsible. You ought to know where your kid is at 10 o'clock at night when they're 10 years of age. How about we start incarcerating some of the parents, or fining some of the parents, or putting some systems in place that hold parents responsible for these rampaging, out-of-control, spoiled brats which progressive culture has created. kid running around, I just got to go find myself. My old man would grab me by the ear, put me in front of the mirror and said, find yourself, there you are, go get a job. The problem is the parents, these woke, teal parents, these progressive parents, my child identifies as a cat. Great. Your child identifies as a cat. At 13, cats don't need iPhones, they don't need iPads, they don't need Netflix, and stick a bowl of whiskers down there, and I guarantee you they will quick smart get out of that stupidity. But no, our progressive culture has allowed it, and governments love it because chaos is good for totalitarianism. Number one, I blame parents. I blame parents. And don't you blame, dysfunction, I'm a single mum and everything else. Codswallop. Some of the greatest men in history were brought up in single mums' homes, and I'm not an anti-single mum. I've been a single dad, trust me. So don't give me these sob stories. It's out of control because you are out of control as a parent. Number two, government is out of control. And progressive culture wants to buy your vote by allowing all kinds of wokeism, ideologies that don't even make sense. Last night I put up a post on here from Monty Python and it got more views than my rant. Go figure that out. But here's the other thing. We've removed every sense of God. The basis of honor. The basis of honor is found in the book. The basis of a justice system is found in the book. It gives you directives. Now, I'm not here to preach to you from a Bible thing. This is a secular rant. But when you remove God out of society and any fear of God, and you make man God, and you make government God, of course you're going to have youth crime. Here's the other thing I blame. I blame the government. I blame parents. I also blame the fact that we are easy on crime. We are easy on drugs. You're talking to a former director of a drug rehab program. These magistrates, quite a lot of them I might add, no fear. No fear of the police. I heard last night one of the leaders from the newspaper talking about how these kids aren't scared of cops. Well, let me give you a few reasons. Number one, they're not scared of cops because the law's not tough. Number two, they're not scared of a lot of cops, and I want to be very careful about this one because they see what the police did in the last 2 years to good citizens, and they've lost all respect. Me, when I was a kid, I answered a policeman on the street, spat at him, did whatever. I tell you what, do that, try that in Bankstown in the 70s and 80s. You'd be getting a good old clip over the ear. You know what we ought to do? Stop giving them money. Stop the funding. Stop funding parents who will not take responsibility, parental responsibility, for their children. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate on this one. Why should my taxpayers' money pay for your incompetence as a parent? I remember walking down the streets of Minneapolis at a mall one day, this kid's kicking and screaming, his mother saying, I want this, mommy, give me that now, give it to me now. And the mother's doing, that's right, share your feelings with mommy, express your feelings with mommy. And I said to my friend Dan Smith at the time, and sometimes Dan watches, I said, there's a future juvenile delinquent. The mother heard me, attacked me and said, who do you think you are? I said, let me tell you who I am. I'm Pat Mesiti. I run two of the most successful youth programs in this country. Because you will not put a boundary around this kid, what's going to happen? This kid's going to fall off the mountain and there's going to be an ambulance at the bottom of it called me picking him up because of your incompetence, lack of discipline. You want to peel back the onion skins of his emotion? How about you grab him, give him a clip over the ear and tell him, son, I'll peel something else off you. And we're doing it with our Indigenous community. The audacity audacity of an Albanese saying that put up the voice and it'll solve the problem of Alice Springs. You didn't even go to Alice. You spent more time sucking on a vanilla ice cream at the tennis than Alice Springs. Now, I'm going up there. My mate Avi's up there. You didn't even walk the streets with the people. If you did, where's the footage? Where is the footage of you walking the street at night on your own? You didn't do it. And Palachuk all of a sudden has this epiphany that she's going to implement David Christofouli's ideas that he had. Notice they really haven't asked a lot of the church what they should do, even though many churches run some of the biggest youth groups. Number one, I blame parents. Number two, I blame government. Number three, I blame the financial system. And I'll get to more of that in a minute, because I've been telling everyone out there, they're coming after your super. The biggest financial pot of gold in this country is your money. 3.3 trillion, and Chalmers is coming after it because he's got to fund his electric cars, he's got to fund his energy bills, he's got to fund the fiscal irresponsibility and damage that they're doing to this country. Why don't they open up, allow for someone like Clive? Again, I met Clive a couple of times. From what I see, he's a guy that provides a lot of work for a lot of people, and put some of these kids to work up there. The next thing is, you commit a crime, you're going straight into the military. 17, 18-year-old kid committing a crime, guess what, son? You want to do that? We've got a thing called the military. Good laws, we need one. We don't have that. We're bragging about China. You couldn't pop a balloon in China. Oh, actually, Biden did pop balloons. The craziness. Cut off the money. Cut off some of this welfare money that is actually empowering dysfunctional teenagers and their parents. Get them to get their lives in order. Institute military conscription. What, you're a 17-year-old kid and you've been on the dole for 3 years because you can't find a job. Son, you don't want a job. And many of them, second and third generation. And don't come crying to me, saying to me, oh, they're from poor, run-down families. As I said before, some of the greatest people in history came from broken, dysfunctional people that had pain and suffering. They're using this as a crutch. Because let me tell you what totalitarian focuses on. And by the way, Alexandra Marshall on Friday at Prayer and Pushback is going to be speaking about this. Totalitarian governments thrive on victim mentality. They love it. They love it. They create this empathy thing, throw money at it so they can control. I blame the government, I blame the parents. Number four, I do blame the church. The church has been far too silent on issues. Far too silent on issues. And it does upset me. It does upset me. Find a way into getting into some of these schools. The next thing is this. They have removed all form of respect for government, law and order. Most of it because of government's inability to act with integrity and to act with honesty. Let me tell you what these teenagers see. They see through your, and please excuse me for this, please excuse me, they see through your BS, your belief systems that are completely morally bankrupt. They don't respect you. You know, I remember going to school one day and there was a teacher in our school and we used to stir him up a lot, the English teacher. We used to stir him up. And he would always respond so calmly. And then one day, one of our students pushed it too far. This guy leaned back, gave him one big whack, kick in the chest, knocked him back over 3 chairs. I can tell you what, every day, that room was clean. Not once did we ever try and stir Mr. Ted again. Put the fear of God in us. Which brings me to the education system. Principals can't hire and fire based on the ability the inability of some teachers. Because activism has taken the place of education and kids see it. And this has fueled a progressive liberal culture that destroys any sense of boundaries and moralness. I could go on. This got me so fired up. All these kids going having to find themselves. 24,000 crimes of kids between 10 and 17. You don't know where your 10-year-old is? Every parent, check that room. Get through the cupboards, get through. Oh, I don't want to infringe on their privacy. They're living in your home. Now let me get back to another thing. Your superannuation. I told you they were coming for it. Daily Telegraph reports Jim Chalmers is going after the biggest pool of money in Australia. Bigger even than what's in our banking system. Your superannuation. And I emphasize your superannuation. Oh, it's dressed up to look pretty good. Dressed up to be nice. But let me tell you, when Albanese said, we're not touching or changing the superannuation system, let me tell you, that if you believe that, you're the person that believes you're going to get your $275 back 97 times he promised it, hasn't fulfilled it. Them saying they're not touching it is about as believable as you believe in the $275 that you're going to get back on your super. And what's this? Do they have any legitimate reason? No, not really. Just because they think it's their money, not yours. So pensioners will be held at ransom. I suggest that what Richard Chalmers is doing, and Topher Field is doing a brilliant dissertation on Friday on Richard Chalmers turning us into a new Venezuela. Jim Chalmers is saying, I'm the treasurer and I'm going to help you. Yeah, right. You're the treasurer who's hell-bent on turning this into a socialist country. You see, totalitarian governments such as the Labor Party, they believe everything is theirs. So they can cap it, change it, misuse it, hit you harder. Critical to understand, and even more insidious, is the idiotic and indeed quite simply totalitarian mindset that Labor and Green politicians and other bureaucrats simply believe they own your money. And when the budget comes down, your money is going to be their money. You see, not every single dollar that goes into super, apart from some trivial contribution, is your money. It's not. So they are going to extend the borders. I could go on about this, but I'm going to save some for prayer and pushback on Friday. We've got a war on here, folks. We've got a war on here. We've got a war on our children. We've got a war on the family. We've got a war on our economics. And the audacity of Palachuk or Palaszczuk to come up with some lame, half-baked plan for our youth. How about you ask someone who's had something like 43 years experience on what would work? A good dose of fear never hurt anybody. But sadly, there is no fear because there is no respect, there is no honour, because progressive culture, woke culture, socialist culture hates that. And chaos is good for them. It means they have more reason to control you. Now, Friday, I've just had confirmed Avi Yemeni will be with us on Friday. Just confirmed Monica Smith's going to be with us again on Friday. I've confirmed George Christensen's, Senator Malcolm Roberts. We're working with some Indigenous people at the moment, with some Indigenous leaders. I'm not going to say who. Don't want to give them any grief at this point. But if you want to be part of it, you can be. Monica's going to be. Avi's going to be on there. Malcolm's going to be on there. George Christian's going to be on there. I'm going to be on there. Pastor Jürgen Matthesius, Pastor Marty Manuel from South Australia. His story is amazing. How they withstood all this mandate stuff that went down in South Australia. They stood their ground. And we have Senator Alex Attic on the digital identity and what it means. Now it's prayer and pushback. Listen to me. It will not be streamed on this platform. It will be streamed on Zoom and you must register. For goodness sake, register. Now, my Zoom only has a certain amount of capacity. I keep telling you guys that. If I need to get extra Zoom, I will do extra Zoom capacity, but I need you to register. Not tomorrow, today. I also need you to share this message with people. We will be streaming on Rumble and we will be streaming on our Telegram, but don't rely just on that. No, it will not be repeated. No, it will not be aired afterwards on this platform. If you miss it, you miss it. It starts at 11 o'clock through about 1:30. I've timed it best I can. We're going to pray and we're going to believe. Now to end on some good news. My great friend Daniel Hagen, who's experienced a great revival up in the Sunshine Coast, will be on that program as well, sharing with us what's really happening. We need an awakening. We need an awakening. And our youth especially need an awakening. The reason why our youth need an awakening is because the parents have completely lost their way. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I find it weird that I can put a Monty Python video up last night and get thousands of views, yet when I come and say to you, Biden has just launched World War III, only a couple of hundred, unless I'm being shadow banned. Bizarre to me. It's bizarre. I don't get it. But we're going to carry on the fight, and we're going to fight for our freedoms. And as best I can, with the voice I can, we're going to hold some of these people accountable. And for those of you that say, oh, Pat, Christians and preachers should stay out of politics. Well, I'm a businessman. And number two, let me tell you, this is not politics. This is right and wrong, evil versus good. Get a grip on it. And no wooism is going to change it. We need some solid action. Just remember, when Pharaoh was in trouble, it said that when Joseph bought a plan and the plan seemed good to Pharaoh. Parents need more accountability for their kids. Parents need more responsibility for their kid. All this thing about they're going to go find themselves, put in front of a mirror, and there they are, they'll find themselves. And stop this nonsense, because none of it is helping. None of it. Identifying as a cat and a dog and whatever else. Most of them are identifying right now, at least 24,000 in this state, as criminals between the age of 10 and 17. Never before in the history of our country and this state of Queensland. Thanks for listening. Went a bit longer than I expected today, but join me for prayer and pushback. The link will be in the chat. It will be on Telegram. It will be on also Rumble. During that moment when we are on, please don't inbox me. I can't get on. If you don't register, that's why you're not on. Okay? I will not be answering my phone. I won't be doing direct messages. You know what to do. Follow an instruction, folks. Come on. Click on the link. Get yourself registered. And for goodness sake, show up. Don't ask me for replays. We're not doing that. You need to be there. Take your phone with you wherever you go. You can link into a Zoom and watch and learn and pray, and let's believe to turn it around. And I am being straight and I am being direct, because the time of playing games is way, way, way over. Our world needs answers. And I've put together what I believe to be some great men and women of this country to help us. I look forward to seeing you Friday. Click on the link and register. God bless you. Please share, like, and subscribe. All of our links are in my bio on my Facebook. All our links are there, okay? And by the way, I am aware that there's a lot of people out there pretending it's me, direct messaging you through Instagram and blah, blah, blah. Listen, I don't do that, okay? I don't do that. The only thing I might direct message some of you is about pre and pushback. But all this other stuff is just not me, okay? God bless you, everyone. Thank you. Please share. Please, 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 please share this one. God knows we need some answers for our youth.